Books. They're sort of like very slow films or video games where there's only one button and all it does is turn the page. It's a beautiful day, and I'm journeying by train to St Leonards-on-Sea, the slightly more trustworthy cousin of Hastings, with only a brief stop in Eastbourne due to a tragedy on the railway tracks. After a fortifying sandwich at a cafe that's also a record shop, it's time to hit the shelves, nearly lose my camera after Louis leaves it in the charity shop, not mad, they're just serious, and discover what kind of crap gold we'll uncover. Welcome back to Book Foraging.
We've got Willie Russell's Blood Brothers. Willie Russell of Educating Rita, which I really enjoyed.
I love Educating Rita.
We actually looked at that during my education degree. Can't remember why. I don't remember what part.
It was a PhD in Rita, wasn't it?
It was. I didn't finish this degree, just so everyone knows. I had a terrible time. The very first line, for years I'd wanted to write a musical, not the book of a musical or even the lyrics in the book. I wanted to write a musical, book, lyrics and the music. Now there's cheek. Book, well, yes, lyrics, possibly, but the music, I could quite understand the objections, the pitying looks of disbelief.
He wrote the music, didn't he? Despite being a prole. Oh, it's the kitchen sink guy.
Yeah.
Well, I guess his were a bit lighter than a lot of kitchen sink, but like, I only really know Educating Rita. But then, and now a musical. Midnight Express. A harrowing true story in the great Papillon tradition. No idea what that means. Don't know what Papillon is.
You didn't know this was a novel, did you?
Well, I don't think it is a novel. I believe it is a biography. It's the true story of a guy who tried to smuggle hashish from Turkey back to America, got arrested, and was in a Turkish prison for a couple of years. And it was apparently quite harrowing. It was made into a good film, which was shot in Malta, which is where my family is from. Funny story about this, my dad watched it on TV once, and was like, knew it was set in Turkey, and he was like, why do I speak Turkish? And it's because they just hired locals, and then were just like, yeah, say whatever. The other funny thing about, it was directed by Alan Parker, who did...
Midnight Express.
Very good. Very good. It was directed by Alan Parker, who not only directed The Commitments, but Bugsy Malone, of all things.
Really?
Yeah. This is harrowing. Another thing, when I watched this movie with my mum, there's a topless scene, and my mum just said she's got weird boobs.
And I point them out, especially if I'm watching something from the mid-20th century, I'll always look for the pointy boobs.
Yeah, exactly. What happened? Maybe it was someone in the water. Was shot in Malta, actually mostly in St Elmo's fortress. The villain in the film was played by, evil prison guard, was played by the same guy who plays Bluto in the Popeye movie, which was shot in Malta as well, the year after this. It's interesting that he shot a movie in Malta, and then was like, yeah, I'll do another one in Malta. Like, maybe he really liked Malta. No, I think he was American. He plays a good Bluto. Some 12 miles west of Istanbul, beyond the outskirts of the city in the flat farm country near the coast, is Yeşilköy International Airport. Where will it go?
This is a promising start.
Yeah, he gets arrested.
A Social History of the English Working Classes. It's a book I recognised from a list of sociological texts. Oh, here we go, yeah. People's College of Further Education, Nottingham. Nick Cart took this out once.
You know who you are. Nick, we're coming for you.
Or Nick Carté. Nice bit of
Social security number.
Sort code. Keeping up with the sociological theme, a social history of England. Not just the working classes, but the entire place.
That is a nice cover.
That is a nice cover, and I said to Marlon when I looked in here, this looks like it hadn't really been touched.
It's got a map, like Tolkien.
Where are we? South Wales? No.
We're in Sussex.
We're in Sussex. No, I meant where are we looking?
Actually, we are in Sussex, right? It's not Kent yet, is it?
No, not. I don't think so. Not quite.
Not yet. Maybe tomorrow.
Whiskey
smells pungent.
It's Drambuie and whiskey, yeah.
Do you want to explain to the people why you live in a bar?
This is about the literature, not about the drinking.
The Hippopotamus by Stephen Fry. I've only read one novel by Stephen Fry, but I've read a couple of his books. He's a very entertaining writer. And I think people are a bit reverse snobby about Stephen Fry nowadays. They think he's kind of like a relic of the past, and maybe a bit sort of fusty, and maybe even a bit reactionary at times. But his first novel, The Liar, I really enjoyed. I read it like 10 years ago. And this, as it says in here, after writing The Liar, he maintained that he would not write a second or a third novel, but perhaps a fourth. The hippopotamus is it. Ted Wallace is an old, sour, womanising, cantankerous, whiskey-sodden beast of a failed poet and drama critic. But he has his faults, too. The fact is... I did that well. The fact is, I had just been sacked from my paper, some frantic piffle about shouting insults from the stalls at a first night.
Oh yeah, I don't own a copy of Ulysses. I've got...
You didn't own a copy?
I didn't own a copy, but now I do. It's not annotated.
I have an annotated edition, and it was slightly useful, but far more useful was just a guide, an online guide. The annotations are just kind of just like, here's what he's referring to, which is good on a sentence level, but it doesn't really help you grasp what's going on.
Well, should we go to the very end? Should we go to Molly Bloomfield's...
the anus.
The anus? What?
The entire the monologue that that book ends with is while he's licking her anus.
Yes.
That's why it ends with an asterisk. People think that's supposed to be her anus.
Really? He was
That's
a genius.
why it was banned. Because it ends with an analingus chapter.
Well, I knew
Also,
it was banned, but I didn't know it was banned for that specific reason.
There's also a scene where he has a wank on a beach while fireworks go off.
We've all been there.
I bought Ulysses in New York, in Brooklyn, in 2012. The guy in the bookshop said, "Yeah, good luck." 10 years later, I read it. And where is he now? Dead.
Dead across the pond.
But I finally read it during the pandemic. I read a chapter a day for 18 days, roughly. A couple of weeks.
I don't want to read this for a while, but I did need a copy, and this was...
It's difficult, but it's really good. It is worth the difficulty.
Of course, I know that, and you're not
The goodness makes it less difficult, actually. I collect weird sex books. Doesn't necessarily mean that I enjoy them. Why did Barbara Darling hate men so much? Why did she choose vague, innocent Bernard Chanticleer as her vehicle of revenge? The author of The 4th of June has here brought together as bizarre a selection of oddities as were ever enclosed between two covers. And then I won't read that. You're a big boy now. Now a major 7 Arts film production. The savage sex education of Bernard Chanticleer. I don't know. Curious to find out. All the chapters are named Bernard in the such and such. Bernard in the theatre, Bernard in the doghouse, Bernard in the dumps. Bernard walking in the suburbs with his dog. Wood Lane. He remembers when there was one. Dog does too. Retriever. Big dog. Nice dog. Good dog. What was this, All the Pretty Horses? was this, The Road?
I would like to investigate that.
Yeah, well, the camera's off, mate.
That's cool. We've got an illustration by the previous owner of the cover, and it's not so bad. We're going to compare this to...
The handwriting's not ideal. But,
the handwriting's not ideal, but that wasn't where their skills lay. This was a bit ruined. I was just sad to see it left out in the rain. It had been raining for about 15 minutes, and where the shop came from, the people in there hadn't brought the books in. I just felt sorry for the book I have fond memories of, and I didn't own a copy, so I thought
that was the shop that didn't even have a name. There's no sign above it. It's just an empty white.
Yeah, just an empty white building. That's right. Very nice staff, though.
Waiting for Godo is one of the plays I did in GCSE English. I really liked it. No one else gave a shit. It was the top set, right? So they weren't non-readery people. In that class, but they just didn't seem to engage with any of the books we were reading. So even when I enjoyed them, I kind of wasn't enthusiastic about them because you don't want to stand out. But we did Animal Farm, which I think is a brilliant novel. We did Waiting for Godot. We did The Crucible, which is a bit harder to engage with at that level.
The top set is where it was happening.
Yeah, but Godot. Our teacher showed us an episode of Seinfeld, which is also a play about nothing, essentially, and nobody laughed except me and the teacher, and I felt like such a fucking pillock.
So you felt that they were judging you for that?
Well, when you're the only person laughing at something that everyone else is stonewalling, you don't feel great. But what a nice old Faber edition, and it's... Yeah, that is. This is partly why I bought it, to be honest. Philip G. Frame, August 1966. Only 5-6 months after my mum was born. Edinburgh Festival. With Sal.
With Sal.
So, Philip G. Frame. Hope you enjoyed the festival. If you're not familiar with Waiting for Godot, it's one of the great absurd plays. I am impertinent. I must be getting on. Thank you for your society. Unless I smoke another pipe before I go. What do you say? They say nothing.
The autobiography of a super tramp. What to expect from this? I don't know, but the title was extremely intriguing. It's a means of intrigue.
Is it about the band?
There is a foreword by George Bernard Shaw, so that speaks to
Pygmalion himself.
that speaks to some level of quality. I can't wait to kind of dip in and see where that's going.
I love buying biographies of someone I've never heard of.
I think that's a good way to buy autobiographies. Just find a kind of character that might intrigue you, and you'll have a good read.
Returning viewers will remember my
my
Stanley Kubrick biography written just before he died.
Have you read any of that yet?
Not yet. I don't read nearly as quickly as I buy. This is not only the screenplay for Eyes Wide Shut, which I have seen twice this year. I just watched it at the cinema recently in Brighton, and it is a good film. It was quite maligned when I was growing up. People were like, "That's a ridiculous film. It is terrible." No, it's good. It's worth watching. I would have bought this even if it had just been the script, but this also has the original novella, Traum Novelle, by Arthur Schnitzler, which is the same story as the film, only 100 years before. Not for resale, huh? There you go. DVD review. This book is bundled free of charge with issue 11 of DVD Review magazine. Tell us about David Lodge.
David Lodge. He's one of those kind of rare breeds of authors who makes just as good a critic as he does a novelist. We've spoken, you and I, before about whether you want to be an artist or a critic, a reviewer. Here's a guy who did both very, very well. He was an academic, he was a critic, he was a hell of a good fiction writer. He's still alive, actually. He's getting on. I own a copy of Nice Work already, but I really love the Paul Cox illustrations on a lot of David Lodge's work.
What are his novels about?
They're usually about David Lodge's own experiences in academia. This forms part of a loose trilogy, starting with Changing Places, and then Small World, and then Nice Work. Nice Work features two characters who are not in the previous two, but the protagonists of those do appear now and again. Yeah, this is kind of a social novel, because the two characters whose perspective this takes are extremely different. We've got an academic feminist semiotician, and then we have a man who has spent most of his life in industry creating machine parts.
So it's like the reverse Educating Rita.
It is reverse. In a way, yeah, this is a good companion to Educating Rita.
The Godfather. I had The Godfather in paperback, literally just like cheap from HMV paperback, ages ago, and didn't read it, and lost it in a cull. There have been multiple book culls in my collection when I've been like moving or when I've been particularly poor. And I try to not do them anymore, certainly not on that scale, because I always end up regretting it and giving away something that I then need. When Michael Corleone went into the city that night, it was with a depressed spirit. He felt that he was being enmeshed into the family business against his will, and he resented Sonny using him to even answer the phone. Poor Michael Corleone.
Let's stick with the legends. We've got selected poems by the Brontes. That's another source of fascination with an author. The Brontes. Gosh.
4 authors.
4 authors. Yeah. We've got Anne, we've got Emily, we've got Charlotte, and we've got that good old not Patrick. Branwell. Thank you very much.
The best.
Poor guy though. Imagine being part of a family of such literary creativity, 3 of which write excellent pieces, and you, the 4th, write nothing.
He wrote one, didn't he?
I don't think he finished it. Either way, Charlotte read it.
All of you.
Charlotte read it and ripped it apart. She thought it was nonsense.
Imagine if Charlotte Bronte destroyed your novel.
I've got a biography of Branwell upstairs. He's clear. It's a source of fascination. He died too young. But yeah, selected poems of the Brontes. Can't wait to read Emily's. I don't think I've read any of Charlotte's. Marion's song. Then, O Lord of the waters, the great and all-seeing, preserve in thy mercy his safety and being.
Sounded a bit like she got pissed off with the Lord of the Waters. Then, Lord of the Waters.
It's like when someone reads poetry aloud, I have to digest it before I can even say anything.
You did not know what this was.
And I still haven't been told, okay.
Right. Does that ring a bell?
No, that doesn't ring a single bell.
Right, well, you notice the Yellow Pages thing. Legendary old Yellow Pages TV advert where a guy is ringing up a bookshop. No, he's going into bookshops and saying, "Do you have Fly Fishing by J.P. Hartley?" No one's got it. No one's got Fly Fishing by J.P. Hartley. Finally, he gets a Yellow Pages. He finds bookshops in the Yellow Pages, calls them up. "Do you have Fly Fishing by J.P. Hartley?" "Yes, we do." "Oh, my name, J.P. Hartley." It was his book. He didn't have a copy of it. Here's the thing. J.P. Hartley didn't exist. The book was not a real book. The Yellow Pages decided to put it out because so many people... This advert ran for years. And so many people went looking for Fly Fishing by J.P. Hartley that they made it. J.R. Hartley. I've been saying it wrong the whole time.
Yeah, I didn't want to mention it.
Fuck you.
Sorry,
J.R. Hartley's best-known catch to date is the public imagination. But here are his elusive fishing recollections told in a series of sometimes vividly comic chronological cameos, ranging over period and location from Yorkshire school days in the early 1930s through memorable outings on chalk, stream, spit, river and loch, to a startling conclusion half a lifetime later on a Scottish summer night. And with his angling expertise lightly threaded throughout, J.R.'s story will touch every fly fisherman's experience. But it is a book too that will appeal to everyone. even those who have never held a rod. For the engaging portrait that emerges of the ultimate reluctant hero.
What a sublime find!
Weird book. It's got nice illustrations.
Your obscure knowledge of British television and advertising
this edition,
yielded this.
Published in 1991. Where does the lie end and the truth begin? My grateful thanks are due to my search mates, Yellow Pages. So who actually wrote it? It doesn't make sense. It's like an item that shouldn't exist. It's literally just a book about fly fishing. Mostly we fished the River Loder, where it potters down between the villages that punctuate the upper dale. It could shrink in summer to a rusty trickle in the upper reaches.
I'm wondering if there's any kind of deviations, like massive discoursal deviations throughout.
Yeah, they accidentally put a chapter of a spy novel in there. Goncharov.
Yes, I don't know much about this. It's been talked about in a few online circles I'm part of. It's about a man who has, well, just a lot of leisure and how miserable that makes him. So,
he simply had too much fun. First line of the book.
Yes, agreed. He was a man of about 32 or 3, of medium height and pleasant appearance, with dark grey eyes, but with a total absence of any definite idea, any concentration in his features.
Anthony Burgess, who wrote A Clockwork Orange most famously.
Of course. He knew David Lodge, I think.
Oh, there you go. I haven't read any of his other novels. I've heard that Earthly Powers, which is partly set in Malta, is supposed to be great. So that'll probably be the one I read next, but this is another one I hadn't heard of. I bought, because my brother was also enjoyed Clockwork Orange, because we were Kubrick fans. I bought my brother another of his novels, which I believe is called 1985. Because I knew that also that my brother had enjoyed 1984, the Orwell novel, and it's kind of like a take on that. But it's quite reactionary, apparently. Any Old Iron, it appears to be about Excalibur, the sword, the mythological sword, but like brought into modern era. So once in the hand of Attila, then in that of Arthur, looted by the Nazis at Monte Cassino, seized by the Soviets to be exhibited in Leningrad, King Arthur's Excalibur is the flashing blade that hangs over the fates of men and women caught up in the chaos of history. Chaos.
Some Guy de Maupassant. I only know how to pronounce that from some video.
Let's just... What's going on the... Oh, sorry, I thought it was a toilet portrait.
Good question. But look, there's the lid. That could very well be a... No, it's a chair.
Read, it should say on the back.
The cover, designed by Germano Fassetti, shows a detail from After the Bath by Edgar Degas.
Oh, so it is a bathroom painting. Oh, she's drying her feet.
Yeah. I quite like the cover, don't you?
It's a good painting. I was just curious what she was doing.
Selected short stories. I thought I picked this up earlier on in the year, so perhaps I now have 2 copies. Or is it that I picked this one up and went for the collected short stories of E.M. Forster instead? I don't know. But you can't really deny your desire for a Penguin Classics paperback. Look at it, it's pretty.
Jimmy Joyce. Oh, Jimmy Joyce, you heard of Stephen Hero?
Fantastic.
Stephen Hero, as the blurb says, is the first draft of the work which was eventually to be published as a portrait of the artist as a young man. So this is the first draft of it. Its survival is due to the quick action of Joyce's sister Eileen, who rescued it from the fire, where it was thrown by Joyce during a crisis. Fascinating novel in its own right. What shall the rippling tongue of gales give away before the Saxon slang? I haven't actually read Portrait of the Artist yet. I will do, and then I'll read this, and I'll go through them and highlight any differences.
And you remember the narrator looking at his uncle through a glass of alcohol.
It starts with Baby Tucku, and there was a moo cow.
Yeah!
A Nyson's little boy.
Yes, yeah.
Whereas this starts, ... Anyone spoke to him mingled a too polite disbelief with its expectancy. His stiff, coarse, brownish hair was combed high off his forehead, but there was little order in its arrangement.
I often find... it doesn't matter.
I often find you difficult.
I was about to say I often find myself difficult. Like, I always think I'm offending people if I correct them. We've got Somerset Maughams, A Writer's Notebook, which I know has many a useful hint and tip. As well as insight into the process. I picked a few of these up.
What I want from writers' guides, or books by writers about writing, is literal, here's when I sit at the desk, here's what I do, here's the kinds of pencils I use, that sort of thing. I
think, if I can remember a line from Maugham, he said, I write only when inspiration strikes, but unfortunately it strikes at every day at 9 o'clock sharp at my desk. That was one of his lines. So I'm hoping.
Did you know that Honoré de Balzac supposedly drank, I believe, 50 cups of coffee a day?
Fuck me. How is he not going to the toilet every 3 seconds?
There's a very funny New Yorker humour piece, which is just like his internal monologue. You're right. Yeah. Which is his internal monologue as he's drinking the coffee.
It's just free writing the process of drinking his coffee.
Another weird sex book.
Okay.
I predict that this will be problematic. In this remarkable book, Irving Wallace tells the stories of some famous and infamous women throughout history who did their thing, sexual, political, or intellectual, with such intensity that their careers were as scandalous in their own day as they are fascinating in ours. I buy books that I expect will probably be a bit off, with the intention of making fun of them later, so that we can learn from them, you know. I don't endorse this, unless it actually is right on, in which case I do.
I wasn't thrust into this world to scrutinise the material I read.
Almost all men praised Emma's comeliness. She was tall and full-bodied. Full-bodied.
Full of volley, I thought you said it first.
She was tall and full-bodied. He can't have much left, can he? When you see the complete Inspector Morse for £8 and it's only missing one, you buy it. He lives in Oxford, although he's from the north, and he loves a cryptic crossword. And he sings in a choir as well. Colin Dexter was a crossword setter himself as well. So I'm coming at these. I do enjoy detective novels. I haven't read that many English detective novels. I've mostly read like sort of noir, hard-boiled, Dashiell Hammett, that kind of stuff. You know, if I'm going to get into them, I might as well get into them through crosswords. That was St Leonards-on-Sea.
Do you feel as drunk as I do?
I feel tired. I'm not drunk. I don't drink.
No, it's been such a tiring day that it just kind of exacerbates the alcohol.